All right, we are live. Thank you for joining me. This is another episode of Coffee with the Jedi because people have been asking for it. And I've also been getting a lot of people requesting book reviews. And I figured, all right, there's a new book out, but why not go to the source? Who cares about my stupid rambles and opinions? Let's go to the guy who's actually involved with it, and we can get some information on it. So joining me today is Daniel M. Jones, Daniel Mother effing Jones, founder of the Church of Jediism back in 2007. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, yeah.
And then you have the infamous Tesco's incident. We won't go there. We're not touching that hornet's nest. But on the positive note, we do have, here we go. Here we go. This is my edition. It looks a little different, people, but
This is the
Become the
real
Force. There it is. Show them again.
Cool. I have this kind of like this foil kind of sheen on it, so you can see when you put it through the light, it looks super dope. I'm really happy with it. It looks really, really nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cover, beautiful book. It's on the kind of back here for me.
Oh yeah, it's on the back.
Yeah. 9 lessons on how to live as a Jediist master, which is a little misleading because there's more than 9 lessons in the book. There's quite a bit in there. It's a pretty good sized book.
Yeah, it's a hefty book.
Yeah. So before we get into like on the book and things of that nature, I kind of just want to, I always start these things off like informally and just kind of like get a sense of where the person at is, because not everybody knows everyone in the Jedi community. And this is a chance for people to kind of get to know you. What, on the Jedi community side of it, what's kind of like the things that you see that you take away as positives? And then what's something that, or some things that you see where like you might see room for improvement for the overall community?
Sure. Okay, that's a good question. So for me, the positives of being part of the community or having this community or being involved with it is that it's super exciting. It's innovative. It's we're all kind of novices to this because it's super new and it's brand new, and I love that because brand newness gives to creativity, and creativity is the source of everything. Like I said in the book, it's amazing and I love it. So being part of something that's super fun and new is awesome because it's ever changing. And one of the things the Buddha said is that everything is always ever changing, and if it never changes, it'll decline and cease to exist. So we have to keep going and changing, and I love being a part of something which is ever changing. So that was the positive for me. And the improvement, which I could say, it wouldn't be a downside, but the improvement, I would say that the combination of everybody in the community to come together for a singularity would be fantastic. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. I'd love like to be a part of this somehow. I don't know how we would do it, but I think that would be really super cool.
Right. Yeah, that's certainly one of those ideas or dreams, I should say, right? That have been around. Yeah, and it's difficult because what I always say is that as the Jedi community has Jedi culture, right? We have how we live and things, and because of the online nature of a lot of the community, we're battling internet culture, which are very opposed to each other, right?
Yeah, it's a great way to suss that one out. Yeah.
So another question I had, just again, kind of getting to know you, when you are stressed, when you're challenged as a Jedi, what's your go-to meditation or stress relief?
That's a great question. Well, it's changed. It used to be there was 2 of them. I used to do the one where excuse me, I used to imagine myself going on like this vacation idea. Well, not a vacation, not like the typical going to the supermarket. I'm on about like, being on a beach, blanking out everything else and relaxing and feeling that sun on your skin, or feeling that kind of. So it was almost like it was like a relaxation technique that would then lead to like a meditation. But now it's different. It's changed to a more it's not, but the only way I can explain it is more serious meditation, and it's bizarre. It's like I now do like visual meditation where I visualize the chakra from the third eye uh, 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 pulling in light, like a golden light into here, and then you breathe it in, and then you breathe it out, and then it oozes out all the badness, and it covers your body in this lovely milky golden light, which is like a nourishing, healing light. And that's been my go-to one now. I think for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. So that's where it's changed for me.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, that's great stuff. That's great stuff. Also on that, you pointed it out as we were going through sound check and stuff. But show other people, because I think it's a great idea. Is the reminder bead, or how
Oh
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
So this, yeah, the Jedi. So this is what I call it, just a Jedi mantra bead. I don't know what the hell to call it, but basically this is it's a small bead, and I use blue because the book's blue, and I don't know, our logo's blue, and my hair's blue. But basically, it's a bead that it's on your wrist. So when it touches, man, when I notice it there, when it irritates me, and I go, oh, what is this thing that's annoying me? I it reminds me to say, well, stop for a second, be mindful of where I am in the universe, and also think of other people and be grateful for my position that I'm in, because you always have to be grateful for things, because I mean, goodness me, we're all in a position where we can always help somebody no matter what position we're in. But thankfully myself, I feel like I'm in a good position, and I always help people like every year. And I was saying this on a cast I did yesterday. I did a live stream yesterday, and one of the things I do every year is I give to food banks, and me and my partner, we go out and we make sure that we spend money. We make sure we have that money to spend on food banks to give to people way less fortunate than ourselves. And this is another great reminder to, when you look at this, you go, remember how much you have, because not a lot of people have that, and I'm so thankful. So it's one of those things where it's like a mantra reminder thing. So you go, right, I'm always like, almost like the yoga would say, or the yogis would say, always be happy, always be healthy, always be grateful, always be thankful. So it's one of those things. So it's a cool little idea, and it works for me. So
Yeah, that's it's great. I loved it. I loved it. So another thing that just kind of that I like to pose to everybody, because I think you get kind of differing answers, but at the same time, there's always a core. If you are talking to someone, because you've done this, you have experience with this. When you're talking to people who don't know the Jedi community, they don't know, the Jedi path, like anything like that. They don't know what Jediism is about. How do you define Jedi? Like, how do you tell someone what a Jedi is?
cool. I was on national television here in the UK last week, and I was asked this question as well. Somebody was like, "What do you do?" Very aggressive, because everyone's always very aggressive. If they're either really interested or they're very aggressive. There's no in between, I found. So this guy was super aggressive, like, "What are you?" This. I said, "Look, all I am. First and foremost, I'm a human. I'm just like you. Nobody else. The only difference is I live my life in a way where I see myself as a peacekeeper within the entire universe. That's making an effort to always be good, always do the best thing, always try and make the right choices, be that voice of reason, be the person who is diplomatic, and be the peacekeeper in any situation." So, like the other day, I was out. Look, this is a bizarre. I'll tell you an example, right? So I was out walking my dog, and I love animals. I'm like a super animal dude. Honestly, I'm a vegetarian myself, or pseudo vegan actually. The only thing I do have is sometimes a little bit of cheese, but I try not to have it. Anyway, so I'm a vegan, vegetarian guy. I was out walking my dog, and I'd seen this husky dog on the side of the street, and it looked kind of like a bit lost, and I was like, this is weird. And then anyway, I noticed a gentleman who I know locally running past my apartment, and I looked out the window, and I seen him looking around frantically earlier on in the day, and I never thought anything of it. But always being mindful is key number one. So I was mindful of the fact that I realized this guy was running around looking for something. It could have been anything. It could have been a child who'd run away. It could have been a dog who'd run away. It could have been his money. It could have been his bag, wallet, taxi. It could have been anything. But I remembered that. So I was walking the dog, and I'm out, and I see this husky dog. And then I thought, oh, maybe its owner's around the corner. But then for a second I said, well, maybe, just maybe, this dog is linked to the guy who was looking for something, right? We're in the same sort of neighborhood. It was roughly about 3 or 4 blocks, kind of a different neighborhood, but still. So I used my initiative. I went on Facebook, found he had put a post out with a picture of this specific dog, and I was like, there you go. So then I phoned the guy. I said, look, I'm staring at your husky. It's only a pup. I'm here. I'll make sure it's safe. And then he came and got it. So to me, it was having an active role in that community, because many people would have just walked past. People would not have made that attention to detail, seeing that guy running around looking for something. And that's a true story. That happened just yesterday. So I feel like a Jedi is that person. That's somebody who is actively aware in the community to think, like, how can I help this situation? Because I was aware this guy looked like he was worried about something, So I was like, okay, this guy's worried. I want to help him. So when the situation kind of, it's almost like you're a detective to make sure that you figure the puzzles out to help people, just to help people. I love that.
That's excellent. That's great. It's a great example. All right, so this one is one I'm personally curious about, because it's one I've had a great many debates about in the Jedi community, and it's just it's fun stuff.
Okay, here we go.
So here's the book, How to Live as a Jediist Master. So my question, before I get into the details, and because I have a specific question about the book with that, but before that, Jediist, is that a term you like to use, or was that more of like a legal decision specifically for the book and the church and stuff? Or is that something that, like, when you're talking, just personally, do you say I am a Jediist, or do you say I'm a Jedi? Like, that's my...
Okay, cool. So personally, I'd say I'm a Jedi because like that's the terminology I'm comfortable with using, and everybody online uses that, and we're all familiar with it. But in terms of the book, so the book was published on a publishing company called Watkins Media, and actually Penguin Random House in the US, I believe, as well. They're distributing it for me. So it was it's a big publication. It wasn't like I'd self-published like many other book of similar ilk. And so to do that, when you come to a publisher, there was like a team of maybe 15 people I was presented with. One of those people was a legal team, and they said, we have to sit down with Disney, tell them what we're going to do, and then ask them what margins and error lines can we go through, so make sure that we don't overstep our boundaries, and how far can we go with this type of stuff, because obviously we start using terminology and quotes and stuff from books, we step on the wrong toes and I'd get sued, and then everything would be crazy and the book wouldn't get out and nobody would benefit from it.
Right.
So the publishing company hired a lawyer who I met. He came to an event I just held at the YouTube space in London, right? And because I'm a YouTuber as well, the YouTube let me use their space to hold an event, and it was great. It was like a huge Jedi. It was like 113 people RSVP'd. It was a massive, big event, and everyone loved it. It was amazing. Anyway, but one of the guys, there was this lawyer they'd hired, and he looked like Better Call Saul from, like, he had this, like, purple cravat thing and this, like, orange. I was like, this guy's crazy. How is this the lawyer? Anyway, he's like, no, I'm the lawyer. Basically, what he did is he wrote out this document, which I can't show you for legal reasons, but it's about a 5-page document, a legal document saying what we can and cannot do in terms of the book. So one of the things we couldn't use was Jedi because it's a trademark name. We can sell it, we could talk about it, but we couldn't really sell it. But for consistency, because the cover had to have Jedist Master on it, they had to change it consistently through the book, because it was Jedi in the book, but we changed it to Jedist. So, but then again, it's kind of done a few things. One, it's related to Jediism, because it's not like, because Jediism, obviously 2 eyes, obviously for ism, and Jedist with the 2 eyes, it kind of runs quite smooth with it. And another thing is that everybody in the community hopefully now can use that term without feeling they can own that term. So it's not related to Disney or Lucas, it's completely independent. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because I remember one thing I tried to do about 8 years ago. I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but I thought it was a good thing at the time. It wasn't. I hired a bunch of guys to work on my website, and they said, look, we should trademark the term Jediism and then give it to the community. I thought that's a great idea, because we were worried that Lucas might do it. And if Lucas did it, then they would own it, and then nobody would be able to use it. And I thought everybody deserves to use it. So I don't know. I wasn't really fully on board with the idea, because I was like, well, I don't know, maybe. So I asked him to consult with people, and he said, yeah, it was cool. And then we tried to go for it. But John Henry Phelan, in his usual self, put a massive thing in saying, you can't do this. And I said, look, just pull it. Okay. I spent like $200 or $300 trying to get this thing done for people. I rightfully so if he was worried about it, because I suppose in his mind, he thinks that like, I could own it and I could sue anybody for using it, which I'd never ever do. I mean, look, it's been 10 years and I've never sued anybody. I mean, come on. So, but anyway, so a way around that, how I feel is cool. Like, Jediism and Jedist is here on a published book, on an official author. This thing is big. It got a bestseller in the US on Amazon. So people can see that forever, and we as a community own it. It's not me. I mean, Daniel Jones, I'm just a guy that managed to channel this information to a book. It's nothing to do with it. The fact of the matter is I've given as our community that name and that name that you can have, and everyone can use it. And I think that's something cool. But I don't know. It's there for people to use, and if they don't want to use it, they don't want it. But, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's fair. Options.
Yeah.
So the next one, and I love this one, Master. I want to know if you have a specific standard for Master. Like, is there a set criteria that you hold for people to have earned the Master title?
Sure. It's a great question. Like anything else in Jediism, I believe it's an ever-growing, ever-evolving situation. I was asked this. I just did an interview today on the BBC, and somebody asked me the same question. Now, I'm a chemist, right? So I've got a bachelor's degree in chemistry. So I'm a scientist by trade. And I was going to do a PhD, but I didn't, because I had this book stuff going on. So I haven't done my PhD yet, but I probably will. But if I had done another year at my chemistry degree doing my same study, I would have become a master's of chemistry. And you earn that title because you've put so many hours of education in, and you've learned so much and absorbed so much information, you become a master at it. And and the basic way of listening to it is that if you do something enough times, you'll eventually do it well. And when you're doing it well, you become a master at it. And when you become a master at it, somebody will pay you to do it. Basically, that's the idea of a mastership, right? But if you get rid of the payment idea, if you do something well, constantly, you become a master. So, like, I believe that becoming a Jedi master or a Jedis master is somebody who does something constantly, but does it well, you know? So it's down to the, I wouldn't say like, oh, here's a stamp, you are now a master. I believe it's down to the person saying like, you know, okay, put this in perspective. When I started playing music, I'm a musician, right? You can see my bass guitar lying here behind me. But as I'm a musician and I play multiple musical instruments, I taught myself to play all of them. But when I first started playing, somebody came up to me and said, "Are you a master of the bass?" I was like, "No, I'm completely shit. You know, I can't play anything. You know, maybe 2 Nirvana tunes, and that's about it." But after 15 years, I've been playing guitar now for 20 years. So after 20 years of playing, I say, "Yeah, I mastered this because I can play anything that you asked me to play. Really, I've managed to master this instrument, and it's because I know my level and I am a master at it because I feel like I'm a master at it." And again, anything I teach in this book is once you do those things, if you ask yourself, am I a master at this specific philosophy? If you can't say 100% yes, of course, because I feel like I am, then no, you're not a master. So it's, again, to me, it's an independent thing. So it's how you grow as individuals. So
Excellent. Yeah, that's great. That's good stuff right there. All right. So let's see. What else do I got here? I got some questions written down. I am semi-prepared for some of this.
No, it's all good. It's all good fun.
When you decided to write this book, what was kind of your goal and hopes for the book?
Well, yeah, it's a great question as well. So I'll tell you I'll tell you a little bit how the book came about, actually, because that might help kind of answer the rest of the question. So about 9 years ago, I set up the Church of Jediism. Oh no, 10 years ago, I set up the Church of Jediism. Didn't really know what I was doing. I wasn't a master. I just wanted to do something to help raise awareness of this type of community because I've been involved in the community since 2001, and I'd loved the idea. You know, I loved to do something. And in my mind, there was nobody doing it quite like how I envisioned it going forward. It wasn't to say that anybody else doing it was rubbish. It was just like, how do I envision it going forward? Well, I'll do it this way. Maybe more people will pick up the community. And I felt like because I was a performer, I could do those media relations, and I already had contacts in the media. I could build this thing to be something cool for everybody. So that's how I started the TCOJ. And then about a year later, because of the media presence I had, the huge book firm, what the heck are they called? Oh goodness me, a huge book publisher, the biggest one in the world probably, HarperCollins. They emailed me, and they'd actually phoned me straight from New York. They're like, "Dude, we want to do a book." I said, "Well, I'm not a master. I'm not a master at my trade because I don't know it well enough. I've only been on like 2 or 3 years with this. I'm not ready for it." So we made like a book proposal because we had to go through the motion anyway. But then I said, "Look, I need a ghostwriter and I need a longer time." I mean, I was 23 or something at the time. I'm now 31 or whatever I am now. I don't know the ages specifically, but I was like, "Look, I don't think I'm ready for it." So that was kind of on the back burner. So I'd always had this book idea like in my field of vision, in my head, always on the back burner. And I had these specific, honestly now, these 9 lessons in this book were the exact 9 that 10 years ago or 9 years ago I gave to HarperCollins, and they loved the idea. So nothing had changed. All that changed was the content that was in there, the specifics, the detail, the experience. So I was asked to go on a Facebook radio show for it's kind of like a webcast thing for Teresa Chung, who is the ghostwriter of this specific book. And Teresa Chung is a very well-known author of spirituality. She's done many a book on things. She actually wrote a dream dictionary and encyclopedia. So she's a very, very great author. And we were talking about, so she said, "Why don't you have a book out?" Because obviously interviewing me, she realized how passionate I was about it, you know, and I speak a 1,000 miles an hour. And I said, "Look, I had an idea of a book, but I'd left it, 9 years ago, and I hadn't done anything with it." And she said, "Look, maybe let's get a proposal together. Since I'm a seasoned writer, I can help you write the proposal, and maybe we can go forward." I said, "Okay." So I didn't want to go to HarperCollins because they're huge, and it's like I'm in a band and we were on Sony at one point, and Sony is just so big, they don't understand the passion for the music. They just want to sell things and just make money, and it's all a bit weird and bureaucratic rubbish. So I was like, well, can we go to somebody who really gets mind, body, spirit? So my publisher said, my Teresa Chung, my ghostwriter, said, "Well, I know of a publisher from London called Watkins Bookstore, or Watkins Book Media, and they have the oldest esoteric bookstore in the world, I think, and they do a lot of like mind, body, spirit stuff." excuse me. And so yeah, so then we, oh, excuse me, sorry, there's a motorcycle riding past my house. Okay, so then basically, we went to them with the idea and they loved it, and so they did the book. And the goal for me, so that's how the book came about. And so the goal for me was to, I've always said this, I've always wanted to really help people. Like I always thought, like, let's do something amazing, because I feel like people are kind of in this kind of weird zombie state. They kind of just coexist with their own reality. They don't really live in the moment. They don't understand it. They don't get stoked to be alive. They don't wake up and go, yeah, you know, another day, it's amazing, what a gift. They just kind of wake up and they're just like, oh, I'm gonna go to work and I can't wait for the, and this is something that people say, I can't wait for the weekend, you know. And I never use the word hate, right? I know I just said it then, but I never use the word hate, because hate is such a strong word and it attaches so much to it, like Dr. Emoto did with his experiments of the rice experiment. You know, he used hate to prove how putting that on something will physically affect the matter of the universe. So so I don't use the word hate, and I never say I can't wait, because when you can't wait for something, you wish away the time in between. But every single second is precious, because this is your life and it's ending of every second of every single day. So how you choose to live it is how, it's your legacy, it's your entire existence, it's everything in the universe all combined to that 1 second where you say, I don't care about this second, but you should care about every single second, because it's amazing. And so people say, like, they wish away their lives, and they, you know, I will live for the weekend, you know, and I just work and I get my head down and I just bumble through life and I'd rather sleep. And you know, people sleep a lot, you know, they, oh, I'm sleeping, I'm napping. I'm thinking, Jesus, wake up, man, we've got this whole life to do. So to me, the goal was to get people super stoked about being alive, because when you're alive and you really know it, you could do amazing things. Because people always kind of get bogged down with the narrative of, oh, well, I'll never be as successful as that guy. Oh, that person built a bridge, or that person built a skyscraper. Look at these people, they're amazing. And they put them in this kind of almost like an awe of like a messiah statue. Like, oh, these people do amazing things. But they're just people. You know what I mean? They're people. They grew exactly the same way as you. They were conceived the same way as you. They have the same components as you. They're made up of the same elements as you. The only difference is they know they're alive and you don't. And that's it. So I was like, let's wake people up. And so the goal for me is to touch hearts and minds, to spark creativity or light a fire in someone's soul and heart, so that they can love more, they can give more, and then they can love themselves more, so that they can just go out there and do something amazing. I love it. I love getting people psyched about stuff. I that's my passion, you know. And you know, one of the weird things, like, people say, and John Henry Phelan says this a lot. He's got a website. I don't know, something Become the Fast or some rubbish. Anyway, he said that, oh, Daniel's just making money from this stuff. Well, so far I haven't earned a dime from the book, because there's so many costs that are involved in making a book. You know, the publisher, you know, a writer gets a minimal percentage of a book. You ask any writer how much they get from a publisher, it's nothing. I probably get more begging on the street. But in terms of the book is not created to make money. The book is created to change lives. And if I can do that, it's gonna be amazing. There's an abundance of money in the world. You just have to go out there and find it. But what there isn't an abundance of, there's not an abundance of time. And time is so precious. And people need to just focus their energy on living rather than kind of complaining. And I feel like people do that a lot. But yeah, so that's my goal for the book. And I hope that if it just touches one life and it inspires one person, and if I just see one person that says, like, Dan, you know, like, you did something that helped me change my life, I'd be like, wow, I've done it. You know, I fulfilled that idea that I had. And I don't know, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great stuff, man. That's great stuff. So kind of going off of that a little bit, you know, kind of, you know, dealing with the book and dealing with the things that come with it and all of that. When you do that, you step out and you're effectively speaking for the entirety of the Jedi community, right? You're shouldering kind of the whole community. You're speaking for thousands, the ones that are just quietly living their lives as Jedi and not, you know, just doing their thing day in, day out, right? Is that something you enjoy, or is there a sort of like trepidation in shouldering that responsibility, or how does that feel, like knowing that, all right, what I say now in this interview or what I've put in this book now speaks for like everybody?
Sure. Well, and there's a few components to add to this. So because everything that I say from my point is axiomatic, so that it's not, again, just like anything else mystical in the universe, it's axiomatic. So we have to go on the principles of that. We have to try it and see if it works. That's the only way to prove something. So when I'm up there, and you're right, I'm speaking for everybody in a way, because, excuse me, people look at me and say, oh, this guy's quite prominent in the community or whatever, or in his section of the community, but we want to ask him, they ask me questions about everything. I try and be as as open about everything as possible. It's difficult because obviously I've put down a set of guidelines in this book that may be not everybody's cup of tea in the community, but it was just a way of expressing most of what I can gather from people online and most of what I can gather from the members to put into a book. So I always make people aware that I am not, excuse me, I'm not the sole person or the sole beneficiary of the entire thing. You know, I'm not like the Pope or Jesus or something. You know, because everyone confuses it. They say, "Oh, you founded Jediism." I was like, "No, I didn't. You know, I just made this book about it." Like, that's one of the biggest things. The media love a story, and one of the biggest things as well is they'll change what I say. So if they interview me and they say Daniel Jones, leader of the Church of Jediism, they'll just say Daniel Jones, founder of Jediism. It's like, okay, you've just taken what I've said and chucked a lot of words out of it and just combined two together, founder of Jediism. It's like, that's not what I said. But the media like to have, they don't like big, long, complex narratives. They just want the single thing. What's the most spectacular thing I can have? And that's happened to me all the time. Tesco, friggin' the moon, like anything you can think of where it's being crazy. You think, what is this guy doing? Most of it is media manipulation. And another part, and I'll just say this on the contrary, I know how the media works. Now, in order to make our position in our community more substantial within this day and age, so people respect what we're doing, you have to shake them up a bit. It's like you got to shake them up, and the only way to shake them up is to say some outrageous things. So I have said things and said, yes, I speak for the whole community on this because we're doing, because whether people like it or not, publicity is good publicity, all of it, because it raises that profile and it makes people aware that it is something. Because put it this way, right? If you're on the subway or whatever, and somebody's like, "Oh, what do you do? I'm a Jedist," or a Jedi, and they're like, "Oh, what?" And then you have to explain this thing to them, and you have to kind of justify who you are to this person. Well, I feel like I've taken on that justification brunt every time I go in front of the media, because now people say like, "I'm a Jedi." Oh, I heard about that guy on this thing. I seen him in like this magazine. It's kind of cool. Oh, the explanation is gone. They know what you do. You know what we're a community of people, and it takes. I feel like I'm clearing the smoke for people so they can see what it is and then make the decisions up themselves. But one of the things that I do say is that there are a bunch of different people in the community, and I can't speak for every single one of them. I try to say this as much as I can, as much as they'll let me. But you know, and that's how it is. But I do feel sometimes like I have to be careful because I do take on, when people ask me questions specifically on the community, how does the community react to this? I go, well, you know, I'm not every single person, so please bear with me, you know, but I'm just kind of, I see myself as like an advocate or a spokesperson for the community. So I hope that like I do a decent job enough for most people, I guess. I don't know. And another thing I'll say on that is, you know, you could be the nicest peach in the fruit bowl, but not everybody who goes in the room is going to like peaches. So I may not be everybody's cup of tea because maybe not, I'm not asking everyone to love me. It's just something that, you know, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's cool. I can deal with that, man. Jeez, you know, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. I think a lot of people don't really understand how kind of media and publicity and things work sometimes, and how things do get, you know, misquoted or pulled out because
Well,
I'm gonna shorten it, you know.
yeah, and it's horrible. I mean, the media are very shrewd, and you have to work with them, you know, and you have to play them at their own game. So when I engage with them, I always try and engage to kind of benefit us as a community. Sometimes it backfires, and something crazy happens, and I get backlash for it. But it's okay. I can take the backlash because I don't care. Like, at least I'm helping. In my mind, I'm helping. But the media did something before where there's a celebrity over here in the UK called Charlotte Church, and she's Welsh, so she lives in the same kind of the same district of the UK as me. She lives in Wales, and she goes out with a rugby player who's also Welsh, blah blah blah. Anyway, she had this new TV show going online, right? And she wanted some publicity for it. So for some bizarre reason, her publicist spanned some story about like me and her doing some stuff with the Jedi Church, and she'd given me money to like raise funds to build a building and all this rubbish. And I was like, so I got all these people phoning me and like paparazzi outside my house, and like, "Oh, you're in the media again?" I said, "Why?" And they said, "Oh, well, you're in the papers because you've done this thing with Charlotte Church." I said, "No, it's a bollocks, you know, like it's complete rubbish. Like she just made this up to use me." So this happens a lot. So you may see a story somewhere in the media about me, and I would take it with a pinch of salt, you know, unless you see it coming out of my mouth, then it's probably not 100% true.
Well, that's actually, you know, one of the reasons I've been willing to like sit down with you for some time, because for exactly that reason. You know, you hear things about people, and of course you get the rumors. Jedi community, as we said, you know, a good majority of it is online, so it's like Jedi culture versus internet culture. And internet culture is very much like high school, right? You hear rumors and you hear gossip, and
and nobody
and
knows
me,
what's going on.
Right, and exactly. So like, so me, I like to go to the source. I like to go to the source, and you know, that way you get to draw your own opinions and get your own ideas.
Absolutely, and I always use that's similar to a term. Somebody asked me a question once, like they, somebody, and it's quite controversial. Somebody said, "What do you think about Scientology?" I said, "Well, I don't know anything about Scientology. How could I formulate an opinion?" And I said, "Well, I think they're stupid and they're horrible." And I was okay. So then I went away and I looked at it to think like, what is Scientology? Because it's a crazy closed book community. And I was like, so I read about it and I looked about it and I read everything I could get my hands on. And I picked up like a book for like £1. No, like 1p from Amazon or something. It was really cheap. Excuse me. And I read it. It's a load of crazy. Bear with me. My conclusion was crazy, but then I had to base it on something. I couldn't just say, oh, I listen to hearsay, because the news spin things, and I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. Okay, it turns out the Church of Scientology are crazy, like cults of, oh, it's horrible, sticky stuff. But there was an example of when somebody asked me something, I always look into it and find out what it's about, you know, as best as I can, because you can't just take hearsay as factual information. It always has to be a factoid or an axiomatic kind of statement. So, yeah.
Thank you. And so everybody who's watching, for those of you that are still joining us and have come in, we are going to be getting into your questions here in a little bit. So you go ahead, and if you feel you need to type those out, fair warning, if there's anything like super, here's the warning: be a Jedi. That's I'm gonna just leave it at that. Be a Jedi.
And look, if anybody wants to tweet me as well, sorry guys, you can get me at the Aspie World on Twitter. So if you want to like just tweet anything at me, I love conversing with people, and I love you know, shedding some light on anything. So if you want to reach out to me, you know how to get me. The Aspie World on Twitter. So yeah, just reach out if you want to ask any questions that you may not want to put in here. But yeah, please be a Jedi. We're all just trying to get along here. It's not like we're trying to.
I won't be asking any questions that come up that don't meet that criteria. So just, you know, fair warning. You guys can use the live chat on YouTube, or hey, you can tweet Daniel himself or myself or whatever. However you guys need to get in touch, you can do that. Before we get into that, there's one thing that I read within the book that I kind of giggled at, because it happens. First of all, it's in relation. You mentioned Temple of the Jedi Order by name. What I noticed there's no Jedi Living by name. There's no Temple of the Jedi Force by name. What's up, man? No love for the rest of us, dude? No love?
Well, the problem I had was I do have love for all you guys, actually. And one of my main goals was that I wanted to have a piece of my website. I just launched a new website, becometheforce.com, and I want to have a place on it for everybody in the community. And I love stuff like this, maybe a Jedi radio show, maybe Jedi, and I want to involve everybody, because I feel like it's a community effort. It's not me dictating everything. I want to have people come in and creatively say things. When I was writing the book, they wanted to know a bit about other communities. Now, I'd mentioned Temple of the Jedi Order because they're the oldest one that I'd looked at when I started studying stuff. I came up with Force Academy, I came up with Temple of the Jedi Order, the Ashlar Knights, and Jedi Realists Association with Alethea, and I came across all those. So my publisher or my editor was like, "Look, you have to cram it down to like 2 or 1." Like, so I was like, "Oh." So I think I mentioned Alethea's Jedi Realist movement, and then I also mentioned John Phelan's Temple of the Jedi Order, because the Temple of the Jedi Order are super influential in the movement. You know, they've been around for a long time. They've got a lot of members. I know a lot of members who go to, you know, listen to what we say on our website and go to the Tojo as well. So I think that like it was worth mentioning those, because I feel I had to mention somebody, basically. So there was no disrespect to everybody, and I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to leave you guys out. It was never my intention. Please bear with me with that. And but that does open it up. Like I said, do some collaborations with you, maybe some more videos or like a webcast or something, because we have like our Facebook page is like 15,000 people on it. Our mailing list database is like 5,000-6,000, and I just think that it would be super cool to kind of like collaborate and do some stuff. Our website gets like 19,000 hits a day, so I mean, I'd love to have like this kind of this show is perfect. This kind of thing is what the community needs. It needs more people. It needs more communication. And I'd love for you guys to do something with it. So bear that in mind. You don't have to. I'm not forcing you. I'm not like putting you on the spot or anything. You know, don't worry about it.
So another thing, like right off of that, so that was mentioned, and then I was reading it, and one of the things said was that they follow the teachings of Joseph Smith, and I was like, that can't be right. That has to be a typo. I think that meant to be Joseph Campbell. Can
Campbell,
you
yeah.
confirm that?
100%. Okay, so I'll tell you how a book is. The book is based on. I'm heavily dyslexic because I have autism. So I don't know if anybody knows this about me, but I have autism. But I have high functioning autism, which means I'm verbally able to communicate and I can understand things to a degree. But if you lived with me, you'd notice the difference. But because I have autism and dyslexia, I'm not able to read and write too well. So I had a ghostwriter interview me and then transpose those interviews into a document. And then the document was then done with a project manager to go through and change anything. And then the project manager takes it to an editor, and then the editor edits it. And then it goes to a printer, and then the printer puts all the stuff in. Now, somewhere along that chain, they changed Smith to Campbell to Smith. And I think it may have been the ghostwriter because if you're typing things down and you're interviewing somebody really quickly, it's going to get lost in translation. And then again, it doesn't really flag up because he is a spiritual leader. So when the editor was going through it, because I can't read through it and I can't go through it like that, the editor was going through it. They didn't flag it up because it didn't look like a typo because it was an actual name of a spiritual leader. So that was the issue. I did send my apologies, to John and the community saying, look, it was a typo. And look, I mean, first edition book. If anyone's had a first edition book of Harry Potter, the names are spelled wrong in there sometimes, and they don't, they've missed out like T's on like the, it's just he and stuff. So a first edition book is always going to have typos in it. It has been corrected. My publisher has been informed, and the new copies that will be printed in the start of the year won't have that issue anymore. But it was greatly spotted out, and it was the first person to bring it to my attention was Alithia from the Jedi Realist community, because she was doing some stuff on our YouTube page and she messaged me saying, "Oh, I told you we're going to go crazy," and I was like, "Oh, look, it's just a mistake, And my ghostwriter did reach out and say, "Look, it's a human mistake." So
yeah, absolutely.
Hey, they got a mention, so don't worry about it. At least they got a mention.
Right. The rest of us
dang
are sitting in obscurity, man.
I'm really sorry. Oh god.
I like obscurity. Don't get me wrong, man. I'm a Jedi hermit for real, so it's all good. So still waiting on questions. No question, guys. I thought some of you would have some questions. All right, one more from me. Well, technically, I can do two more if we're still waiting on questions here. One of them has to do with the Jedi community in regards to our history, and because in the book, as you mentioned, it gets cut down and things, and really, so where people reading the book kind of get a sense that the movement starts in 2007, right? And as we know, like other places were around before that, but what I noticed was later, like just a few sentences later within the book, you say, I don't know if that's accurate or not, and I don't really care. So my question is, do you feel Jedi community history, like the history of the community, is relevant to Jedi these days? Should it be something that's taught, or should the history of the Jedi community just like kind of it, whatever?
I think that a compilation of the history in accurate form should be compiled, because that would be awesome, super cool to teach. The reason that I said it wasn't as important to this book, because this book isn't about Jedi history or isn't about Jediism history. The book was about 9 lessons living as Jedi Master from my point of view. So like John Phelan actually made this horrible website about me saying that he lies, and I said when I first started, I was unaware of any other group. Right, when I set up the TCOJ, I didn't know of any other website that was doing it. I didn't actually come across the Tojo until after setting up my website. I'd come across it through a gaming forum I was part of, so that was something different. So, and the internet was quite different back in 2003 or 2004. It wasn't like it is today. You can just get things coming up on SEO straight away. So, I didn't know of any other when I first started my website, I didn't know of any other websites that were doing it. But when I came across them, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe they do have history, but I don't know how far back it goes. So that's my honest, my honest opinion was that yes, ones existed before my website, but when I'd done it, I didn't realize until after I set my website. So, but then again, I was like, I'm going off topic. That's besides the point. This book is about something completely different, and that's why I kind of said that in the book, really. So I hope that answers the question anyway.
Yeah. I've just Jedi history is kind of something like that I have spent time on, I guess. So I was just curious about that.
I think maybe
So
like there's a market there for the book on the history of the Jedi, because there's so many incidents now,
yeah,
and there's so many like there's so many pieces to it. I don't know. It'd be fascinating.
it's it's fun. It's fun when you get into it and you start looking at places where the community kind of grows out of. A lot of people probably wouldn't like it just because, people like a definitive beginning. They like to point at a person, they like to point at a site that kind of started it all. But that's not how the Jedi community came about at all. It's very nebulous in its beginning. So, but exploring those places, seeing like the old chat rooms and stuff
Yeah, yeah.
where people started coming together with this crazy idea of, hey, maybe I can live by this stuff. You know,
Mm.
that's fun. So I got one more that again is a fun question. This is just for
Sure.
me.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Cool.
where is your stance? What is your official stance on gray Jedi?
Well, I had this conversation. I was doing a talk in Watkins Bookstore in London. They obviously put my publisher. They want me to talk there, so I did a talk on the book and the Force. And then somebody said to me, "How do you define good and evil?" And I was like, "Well, I am not like." So Christians say they define good and evil because God says what is good and bad. That's the definition. And they said, "Yeah, well, murderers don't think that they're evil; they think that they're normal. So in their mind, they're normal." I said, "Well, yeah, of course, but how do you define it? You define it as a person." And somebody said, "Well, what about gray Jedi? What about gray this and gray?" I said, "Well, look, there is there's light and dark with everything, and I do believe that." There's a tipping point. I don't believe that there really is a great Jedi, if you like. I believe that there's people who've made mistakes, or people who um, may have not been the most sincere in their life, but then they change to be better people. And again, so they'd be light. There is a clear definition. Are you murdering people? Yes. Well, you're on the dark side. Are you being nice to people? Yes. Well, you're on the good side. It's never like I'm going to love people, but I'm also going to kill them. So it's kind of like it's a weave between. So I don't know. I don't know anybody who classes themselves as a grey Jedi, but it's such a bizarre notion to me that I can't figure out. Because to me, it's black and white. It's either you are good or you are bad, and everyone knows it. We're all inherently human, and we know exactly how good or bad we can be.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Okay. So we do have a question here. I think it might have been answered, but um, it's asked, what Jedi website were you involved in before you made your own website?
Oh, cool. So I came across the Ashland Knights, and I think it didn't. I'm sure was it the Ashland Knights Academy? They had like a forum. It was more like a gaming forum, but it was really cool. And so I was involved with the Ashenites, as in like I was in communication with them. I might have mentioned them briefly in the book. I might have, but so that was the only website I'd come across, and I got it through another forum because I was on a fan forum for a game, and then I came across the Ashenites, and because of all my research and interest in the community anyway, I was like, wow, this is something cool, and then that's why I wanted to set up my own website. So that was the only one I knew about, and then I think I found the Jedi Church in New Zealand, which is Zenyobi, I think his name. And then I found the Tokyo. And then I found the Jedi Force Academy, I think it was. And that's cool. And they're the sites I came across all in that order. It was quite fun. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We got a question here. Wait, let's see. You say, okay. This is a question in regards to a book. It's quoting your book,
Oh, cool.
and it says, in your book, you say that your group is the only significant group that embraces people from all religions. But I have yet to see a Jedi group exclude anyone. Can you elaborate your meaning?
Sure. That terminology doesn't mean the group specifically that I am communication with. It means us as a community. So it's all about the Jedi movement as a whole. So not like, so the Jedi I have come across Christian-based Jedi movements, right? I have. I thought you might have come across a few, and they're based on Christian teachings, but they adapt to be Jedi, and therefore they kind of. I don't think they take too kindly to like Muslim or too kindly to people of like the Jehovah's Witness community coming in to be part of that group, because it kind of clashes with their own understanding of existence. So that they're inherently in the Bible, and then they adapt to be Jedi. So what I was trying to say is that our group, but not me and the TCOJ, but me and the community who are just Jedi at heart, are the open arms. So it's not meant to be, I'm the only person in the world who accepts anybody from any faith. It was just like the people who follow this type of Jediism, Jediism, which is just Jediism, not like Christian Jediism, not like Islamic Jediism, not something else where you can't cross over deities, are open to all the others. And what I was trying to say was that nothing to our community. It was more about all the other world religions, where Christianity would be like, no, it's us or nobody, or everybody, every other faith is like that. They're like, no, it's either us or nothing. And it's like, well, you can't all be right, or maybe you are all right, and that's the beauty of it. Who knows? And it's magical, and I love that. But so it was nothing derogative about anybody else in our community. It was actually to put kind of the ball back in all the other religious kind of religions pointing their finger at us as a community, and that was why it was done like that.
All right, yeah, that definitely clears it up. And yeah, on that, I would agree. Certainly there, yeah, and one of the things I have a person that I talk to pretty regularly who very much identifies as Christian and as well as Jedi. And one of the struggles that he's found is kind of finding a group that it's almost the opposite, right? Finding a group where he can follow the teachings and things like that without going against his religion as well.
Yeah. And
yeah, I think it's great when you can find a group that allows that.
Well, and I think that we all like that person rightfully said in that question, they're yet to find a Jedi group that excludes it. And they're right. Any group that is inherently just Jedi are going to invite anybody into their movement. And that's what I think the beauty of this is. And I think it's like, it's something we can all be proud of, because you can practice Jediism without having to have a different deity or change your religion or divorce somebody, or, nobody's going to kill you for practicing Jediism. And I think that's lovely about it. So.
Yeah, I cool. 100% agree. All right, we got another question here,
Sure.
which you are all waiting for. What is your next book going to be about?
Yeah, cool. Great question. Well, I have 3 books. I have 3 books on the go. So, and that's a weird thing. As soon as you get into that, a writer's world, you get all kinds of opportunities thrown at you. So I had a meeting with my publisher, and the first book that we're looking at doing is a book on. So let me rewind. I do autism advocacy. So I've got a YouTube channel called The Aspie World, right? So it's THE, obviously and then ASPIEWORLD. Yay! So The Aspie World. So what I do is I try and help people through diagnosis process. I help people understand their kids more. I help people understand their partners or loved ones or friends or family who have an autism diagnosis, because my partner, Naomi, she's not here at the moment, she's gone out, but she is a specialist in autism with children, and she works in the field of autism with children. So that's how she can kind of put up with me, I guess. So what I do is I have, because of my YouTube channel, I've got about 16,000, maybe 16,500 subscribers on there. So I have a lot of questions constantly pouring in through my emails and my Twitter and stuff. And people always ask me questions, and I haven't got the time to sit down and write everybody else a question, an answer back to all the questions, because it would take me forever. So what I want to do is, write a book on the general questions I get asked about that, with my point of view, the clinical standpoint from my partner's point of view, like on a professional level, and then a collaboration of both, how the personal experience can be mixed with the clinical experience to help people with autism, because I feel like it's a big community that needs a lot of help, and I'm part of that community. So again, just another example of what I'm trying to do to help people, So that's what the next week's going to be about, first and foremost. There's another book on Jediism, which I am wanting to write. And I won't go into it because I don't know the title yet. But it's more to do with like lifestyle it's more in depth in like this is like an overview of 9 kind of lessons, but like you wrote this, I mean, there's 100 lessons to learn in Jediism, so it's going through different lessons and different lifestyle patterns, and maybe I can collab with the whole community on the next one. Who knows? I mean, really good. I mean, a great idea for a project, and I'd really like that actually. And then I got another book which I'm writing with Lloyd Auerbach. I don't know if you're familiar with Lloyd Auerbach. He's quite a famous US mentalist. He does a lot of kind of like he's Ghostbuster kind of guy. He's a paranormal investigator. He's really cool, super famous guy. And him and I are writing a book on. This is super fun. It's not to do with Jediism or anything. It's to take down the taboos between if you believe in ghosts or if you believe in kind of paranormal activity. It's to scientifically explain those things so that it's not cuckoo and you're not crazy. It's actually a scientific phenomena that you can say, look, scientifically this could happen. And so it's to explain ghosts to being like different vibrational fields that cross over from time to time. But so it's very, very good. It's so because obviously I'm a scientist and he's like a paranormal investigator and he's a psychologist, like a doctor in psychology. It'd be cool if we like cross over. And that was another book we're kind of working on. So yeah, it's super fun. My life is kind of crazy, but it's good. I love engaging in cool stuff. So
Right. Yeah, no, it sounds like a lot of fun. Let's see here. Do we have any more questions for Daniel Jones? Any question? Oh, I got one. Write your questions if you have them. I have one. Because I have this trouble all the time. Your Jedi name, how do you say it? I cannot pronounce like anybody's Jedi name like ever. So
cool. Yeah, it's Mordor Hehol, and so where I live is Holyhead, and that's how it's got the Hehol perhaps. But Mordor, so it's Mordor. Like, and a lot of people can. I remember I was on a TV show once, and they called me Moldy. I was like, Moldy, like what the? You know, it was crazy. But I love the Jedi name generator thing. And a lot of people ask me, they say, is it a prerequisite to have a Jedi name? Do you have to wear a cape? Do you have a lightsaber? I'm like, look, just look. It's there because it's symbolic. It's there because it's fun. It's there because it's engaging and it builds symbolism. I said the Jedi name is like everyone online has a pseudonym. Everyone goes on like Superfest Kid 98 or whatever, and like all that stuff is always been around. Everyone has like a pseudonym, and the Jedi have pseudonyms, and I feel like we, as being an online community mainly. It's nice to have a Jedi name because it puts that online pseudonym in place. And I said, like, you got your real name, because everyone's like, do I call you Mordor Hehon? I'm like, no, it's just an online Jedi community name. It's not like hey, I'm going to change my name by default. But that's cool if you wanted to. I'm not saying that nobody should. I'm just saying that like people take things, and isn't it? People take things way too seriously, and I'm trying to have fun with everything. And I feel like this is what John Phelan from the Temple of the Jedi doesn't understand. I'm just trying to have fun. I'm trying to get people stoked about doing something fun. It's not this all serious, crazy, like, oh, I don't know. It's crazy, and I just
I think a lot of it goes back to kind of again, like the history of the Jedi community where we started. Back when I started, you didn't share. There was no Facebook. You didn't share your real name online. You didn't do that, and so everybody kind of came up with a screen name of some kind, and that's how mine definitely started. So so I have a question here. It says, so you spent a considerable amount of time writing books, website, public relations, all these community, all these things in regards to that. Are there any community projects, books, or websites by someone else that you have read, enjoyed, and or would endorse?
There's loads. I mean, there's loads. I endorsed Bernie Sanders. I mean, it might be a bad word to some people. I gave him money. I loved what he was on about. And that's the kind of cool thing. I give money to animal rights activists who, people go out and kind of save animals. So you see a dog in the street and it's kind of like abandoned and he's like dying and stuff. I give money to those organizations. I love that stuff. I think we should do more of it. I do a lot of stuff like feeding homeless people. Like I give a lot of money to that. There's a great company, I think in America, it's called Toys for Tots or something, where you at Christmas time you give you go to like Toys R Us, where you buy a bunch of toys and then you give it to this company and they go out and give it to kids who don't have toys on Christmas Day. So over here we have something similar, but it's a Salvation Army, it's called over here, and the Salvation Army will do that on behalf of the people. So I got a bunch of toys over here. I don't know if you can see here, but there's a bunch of toys just in the corner here, and I'm going to go and donate those to the Salvation Army. But I have to travel 60 miles just to drop off these toys so that these kids can have them. And I love it. I love stuff like that. So anything, to me, it's community. It's when communities come together to help people, just like food banks. It's a fantastic. Honestly, it literally is a life-saving organization. I can't even I mean, that's like a high priority. And it's disgusting that we live in a day and age where we have to have food banks. It's horrible. But thank goodness that those people do exist, because without it, some people would die, and it's a horrible thing. So I fully endorse food banks and stuff. And one of the things I want to do is I'd love to, and this is one of the overall goals. And hey, I'll let you guys in with a bit of inside stuff. So there's a bunch of people that work on my team. I got like web design guys. I got like, Facebook guys. I got bloody business associate guys and all this stuff, like to move this thing forward, because I had to get a website up, and you had to get investment to pay for a website, and then you had to get all this rubbish. Anyway, one of the things they said was like, what's a goal you want to achieve with the TCOJ? I said, what I'd love to do, and this is my honest opinion, I would love to be able to raise charitable funds to pay for people in America who don't have access to healthcare. Because one of the biggest things that really pees me off is that there's no universal healthcare in America. And over here, I'm in the UK, and I can go to the doctor anytime I want. The waiting times aren't crazy. I can go to a hospital, get an operation, cost me nothing. No, even prescriptions cost me nothing. I'm super healthy, and I get fixed anytime for free, because I pay a little bit out of national insurance, which is like, I don't know, it's like something like, I don't know, like £1 every time you get a wage or something. It's nothing. It's like this minimal. And the cool thing about it is, if you are out of work and you're on like the social care benefit, they pay for it on your behalf. So you're always allowed to go to the hospital, and that's a fundamental right. But America's messing it up royally, and so it's not the people's fault that the country is run by idiots. So in my opinion, it's like, I'd love to just help people out that way, and I'd love to kind of have a pot of money where I say, if somebody really needs the money, to be like, oh, here you go, this stuff. So that's a future thing that I'm trying to do, and I don't know how to do it yet. Maybe I'll set up like a charity. I don't know. These are all ideas that I have, because I just want to help. And this thing, I always want to help people. So, but if anybody's got any ideas, like I'm all open to them, because I'd love to like get involved with like charitable ideas. Yeah.
Okay. So I got a question here that actually ties into this. So I want to get to that one, but I want to let Mike Jones know. I will ask your question here in a second. Brazilian Jedi community does say what's going on, and thumbs up.
Hey.
And real quick, someone did ask about this. We did touch on followers, and the issue with followers. Daniel Jones already threw out the statistics earlier in the video. You said you came in late, so yeah, he threw out the statistics, and claims that, and we discussed how things in the book, how it's a much bigger process, how there's a lot of people involved, and how things get shortened down, and words get taken out of context and things of that nature. So that question has been answered. But here we go. Someone asked, they've been watching the video and loving your stuff, but they ask, for you, why Jedi? Like, so everything you do is great and awesome, right? Like, and the things you want to do, helping people, that's all good. But why, like, specifically Jedi?
That's a great question. So if any of you don't have the book, I highly recommend. I think it's like super cheap on Amazon right now. This book should be like $14, but it's like 10 or something on Amazon. Anyway, in this book, I detail, and that wasn't a sales pitch. It's just because I can't put everything I'm about to say into context. That's why I wrote the book. So the book goes over my life a little bit, as you kind of know, because you reread it. So I grew up in a household where my father is a martial artist. So he invented his own style of karate, which is now called Yamashima, which is a traditional kind of kendo karate form, which he developed into a more practical fighting approach. But within that, growing up, I was always around kind of Japanese philosophy, if you like, and the whole kind of like yin yang as well, with the Chinese influence of like chi, and my father was really into all the martial arts, because he's a martial artist by hand. He's an interesting guy. So for me, growing up in that environment, I was open to the world of martial arts for fitness and defense, never attack, and also meditation for inner peace and tranquility to make you a better person. So that's exactly what the Jedi are. So I've always grown up with that. My dad like taught me stuff. I always ask him stuff about the universe and stuff, and he didn't know a lot of it, obviously, but he tried his best. And the way he did it is he talked about, a lot of esoteric kind of Japanese religions and their Japanese style of kind of spirituality, and I find it so fascinating. But the Jedi and Star Wars community, again, are exactly that, and that's what really encapsulated me when I was growing up. I was like, wow, these people are, but it's bigger than that. So Jediism started. I feel like Star Wars was the seed. Yeah, it was like about this much of the seed, and it grew out. So because like, how can you couldn't talk about the stuff the Jedi and Star Wars. This book is bigger than anything we could talk about Star Wars related in that book, just about Jedi, because you wouldn't be able to squash it in here because you'd say a little bit about it, but we don't know the full story. We don't have all the background. But how would you expand on it? And this is exactly what we're doing. So, but yeah, so I think that's what Jediism is. It's that expansion of being it. And I think, you know, maybe the term will change. Maybe in 1,000 years it won't be called Jediism. Maybe it calls something else. But like right now, I guess it's Jediism. It's the only thing I can relate it to in my life. So I hope that answered the question. And if it didn't, then I don't know. I'm sorry. Just tweet me and I'll try and answer it
again. All right. So here's more of a fun one. And Julio, I see your question, and we will be getting to that. I want to get to this one first from Mike Jones. If you could be any Jedi in either canon or legends, who would you be?
I don't know. I mean, like, it's for me, Jedi on a whole, I always like. I know it's kind of old school, and not like Obi-Wan Kenobi is always a guy for me. Like, I don't know why. It's just he's always the guy. Yeah. Because he's the only kind of level head. I mean, he survived all the way through up until like Return of the Jedi or whatever. I'm sorry, no. Is it A New Hope? He died? No, wait, I'm getting it wrong. A New Hope, sorry, not Return of the Jedi. I'm sorry. I was gonna say he survived all the way up to A New Hope. It's because the other films put me off. And surviving that long to me is then like that's badass, man. And then Qui-Gon Jinn was kind of cool, but I think like again made some stupid decisions. So Obi-Wan Kenobi's got to be the guy for me. Everyone would, I suppose, Luke is like he's gone the full. I think Luke is like the longest standing Jedi now, isn't he? I think, or something like that. So he's kind of like the ultimate. But then again, he was the prophecy balancer. So I don't know. I have to go with Obi-Wan. Has to be Obi-Wan. What about you, man? What would you say?
Me, I would probably go. You know, if I was going, it depends. In Legends, definitely Jax Pavin. I just like the story. I like the setting. I kind of like the idea of one. I'm a noir guy. I like detective stories and kind of like the underbelly of Coruscant setting and all that. So one that really speaks to me. But also, you know, sort of, you know, dealing with who you are, coming to one thing with your life. Everything got you know, changed, and now you have to kind of reconcile. It's kind of the story that's being shown in Rebels with you know, Jarrus, you know, and Ezra. You know, he was a Jedi, then everything changed, and kind of yeah, it's very similar. But I like the character, I like the setting, so it would probably be that, just because, you know, finding yourself holding true to your identity when that's the last thing you should do. You know, when that's the most dangerous thing.
Like the dangerous thing, yeah.
Yeah. So
cool.
So yeah,
that's cool. It's good idol.
But yeah, I can't lie, man. Obi-Wan Kenobi is probably my all-time favorite Jedi. I just like everything. I like everything about him. He's snarky, but he's still a Jedi. You know, like he's got jokes. I like him, man.
Yeah, you know, he's got banter, as we call it in the UK.
Yeah. Okay. So this question was asked. I'm just letting this person know. We did touch on kind of Shadow Jedi and Gray Jedi previously. That is in the video. So we did kind of touch on that. Me and Daniel Jones are pretty similar in view on that. In case you're familiar with the channel. This question was asked to me, but I think I'm pretty sure it's for you, because you know, you're the spotlight here. And we touched on this a little bit too earlier in the video, but this one's a bit more direct. Are you afraid of being a role model?
No, not at all. I could put it this way: like, I do my YouTube channel, right, and I have kids look up to my YouTube channel. Super PC. I never swear. I don't do anything crude on there. You know, I'm a decent guy. I'm not going to be stupid. And I always try and do my best. So when I strive to do my best, if people find that as role model material, then I'd find it an honor to be somebody's role model, because I feel like to myself I'm true, and I feel like to myself I'm doing the best I can, and I feel like I do well. So, and for a bunch of people on my YouTube channel, I am a role model. You know, these people, young kids growing up with the same condition I grew up with, and it's difficult in primary school and high school. It's super difficult, but they see him as a role model, and it's a way for them to say, look, this guy's doing this cool stuff. He's got the book out, he's in a band, you know, he runs this YouTube channel, whatever. And if that's cool, and they feel a sense of I don't know, they feel a sense of connection with that and they want to use me as a role model. I think it's cool. And again, I'd be honored if somebody wanted me as a role model. So, because I never had any like little brothers and sisters or anything. It's just me. So I think I'd be honored.
All right, great. Last chance. We are over an hour, so I'm going to be letting Daniel Jones get on with this day. He's a busy man, but if you have any last minute questions, I'm going to give you a few seconds here. I'm going to give you a few seconds while I look over and make sure I didn't miss anything in my list of questions. Nope, covered that. Yeah, I think we're good. Outside of me saying you better make sure Jedi Living gets a shout out in your next book.
Yeah. Well, I wanna include you guys on the site. I don't know if you've come across the site yet. I don't know if you've seen it. We just launched the site the other day, becometheforce.com, and there's loads of cool stuff we want to do with it. So if you guys are interested, maybe we could do like some, I don't know, we could do something fun with it, because I really want to get people like yourself more involved with it, because it's a great platform and the site is there to be used, and it's a community site. It's not just me dictating stuff. It's just the site. So if you want to do stuff with me, please reach out, man. That'd be awesome.
Fair deal, man. Yeah, I've been focusing on kind of just like building my stuff, but yeah, I've definitely been looking to stretch out more.
Well, I mean, like I said, our Facebook page got like 15,000 people in there who are really into Star Wars and Jediism and stuff. So again, if it's a platform that you could use, then let me know and you can use it. I can get you an admin or a moderator or an editor or whatever you want to do, and then you could help grow on there. I don't know, it's just something cool. Just like I said, all I want to do is help out, and I'm not trying to steal thunder or do anything. So it's cool.
No, I mean that's the essence of the community. We're all in this together, whether you like it or not, right? Like the community is what it is. I actually talked about this recently, and I see your questions, guys, and I'm gonna get to them real quick. But in the Star Wars fictions, there's clans in the Jedi Temple, right? Like there's Bantha clan and Nexus clan, and but they all know that they're part of this bigger entity, that they all know they're part of the Jedi Temple, and they're all trained to kind of do the same thing. I think people forget that our sites are clans. They're not individuals. They're part of this bigger entity. And it is Church of Jediism clan, Jedi Living clan, Temple of the Jedi Order clan. Like these are just where you learn the basics. This is where you learn like kind of the foundation, which will lead us into a question.
I got something to add just before we get the question. Sure. And I had this idea, and I think it'd be a great idea. And I'd love for the community to think about this as well. I had this idea that maybe like if we had like the overall training, right? So say like you're right with the clans. Say there's like 5 different major sites, like you guys as Tojo, Jedi Realist, and like Force Academy, say for instance, right? So if all our members went around each of those clans to learn something new, then you'd graduate from everything. You graduate from the top of the top, And I think that'd be so great if we could make like a forum where we discuss that, and then we'd have a community website where we could all kind of like, or a community page, like a hub, anything that allows us to feed all of our members through these circles. And I think it'll be a way of unifying everything, but keeping those clans, like you said, as independence as well. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that was something that the original idea behind the Jedi United, and then later on Jedi Organization, which then was later shortened to just Capital Jedi, and that's kind of what they worked on or was focusing on, is kind of just being a hub, not being a place themselves like for training, but like kind of where everybody can come and then everybody can branch out, right? Like sort of like an umbrella. So yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who echo those sentiments and would love to get involved in that. Someone asked, you said you had a new website that you're working on. Was that correct?
Yeah. So it's becometheforce.com. It's live now, but the training, there's gonna be like online training videos you can log in, and there's a bunch of free ones and there's a bunch of ones that unfortunately cost a little bit of money, but it's not because I want to charge for this stuff. It's just it's not me teaching it, it's other people. So I've asked these people, like, would you come on my site and train some stuff for the Jedi community? And they're like, yeah, but you have to pay me. And I'm like, well, I can't afford to pay you because like I do this stuff just out of the goodness of my heart. And I'm like, look, maybe you could charge for the course. So that's why there's only like 4 or 5 that you have to charge for. There's a bunch of free. There's like loads of free ones on there, and I'll be doing loads of free ones on there soon. So that's not an issue. But yeah, so becometheforce.com. It's really, really cool. The site is super dope, and it's a really nice website. And it's going to be where you create a login, and then you have a part of the website for yourself. Like you create a login, and you can build up stuff, and you get little badges and certificates and stuff for completing the course. It's really cool. But all that part, the training portal launches in about a day or so. I was just on with the designer today to make sure that we had everything implemented.
Okay, so the question we have, which kind of relates to kind of things that we're talking about right now, is with Jediism being so young, how do you see the groundwork we lay now impacting the path in the future?
It's vitally important. Everything we do now is so important, and this is why I think bickering should be cast aside and unification should be our #1 priority. I think that everything we do now is going to be part of the history, and the history will be taught for forever. And I think that's what's beautiful about it, and that's why we need to make sure the history is non-violent and non-crazy. Because we look at the history of all of the kind of major faiths and stuff; they're all bloody and horrible. And I feel like we're so close to being down that path. You know, not physically, but I mean like metaphorically, because of the actions taken by certain individuals in the community who won't just accept things and unify them. So I think that it's what we do now will determine our future, that 100%. So we need to take that choice. Are we going to move forward as a unified body to secure our future as a movement, or are we going to bicker amongst ourselves and become independent, and it will die? Because if the longer we stay independent, the quicker we're going to dissolve, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Jedi history, again, it's passion of mine or hobby. I don't know what it is. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's definitely something that you see. You see sites come and go. You see them. I've seen all number. As I mentioned, Jedi with the capital Jedi was a huge site. It was the biggest site when it was running, and it was contending with already very active, well-known sites, and it became the biggest site in the community. And it still fell. It still tore itself apart, and it still dropped out and dissolved, and kind of went the way of a lot of Jedi sites, and just kind of went quiet. People went to other places looking for more Jedi-like demeanor, right? Like you don't want to go. Jedi's a very specific mindset, so you don't want to come online and then find yourself getting mad and angry and upset and arguing and rattling the cages.
It's not what we're about.
Yeah, none of that is conducive to the Jedi mindset or the Jedi culture, and so yeah.
I think we should set up the Congress of Jedi. I think that would be because then we could all just kind of like. Yeah, we could direct how we want to push the faith forward. Because I think, like, imagine how strong. Imagine all of those websites came together, right, in a combined congregation of people to say, right, let's move this forward legally, morally, ethically, governmentally. It would just be a huge force to be reckoned with. Pardon the pun, and it would be great. I think everybody in the community would just it would soar. Imagine our gatherings, right? Imagine we put on huge conferences. It'd be crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see the benefit. I am a fan of the different flavors. That's I enjoy that. That's something.
That's what I mean. I think that's what makes it. It's just like the States of America, right? You have the United States. You can have the United Jedi Congress or whatever. And I think it's nice to have those flavors. And I think that we can all learn something from each other. No. But like you said, to know that we're part of a bigger thing would be way beneficial.
Yeah, so let's see. I think again, we kind of covered on sides of the Force and talked about that. That's earlier in the video. So who's next on Coffee with the Jedi is a very fluid thing. I rarely go out of my way to invite people on. I did so with Daniel Jones, as I mentioned in the beginning, because one, people were asking for more of these, and then two, people were asking for book reviews, and of course, coincide, he has a book. So, and it's something, as I mentioned too, something that I've been wanting to sit down and personally talk with with Daniel for some time. And so it was just all those things that came together. And so I asked him if he wanted to donate his time to this. But Coffee with anybody's allowed to be on Coffee with the Jedi. I've said this in the other videos. Anyone's allowed to be on. It's all about just setting up a time. If someone's interested, we can sit down and talk about things and projects and community and all that fun stuff. So there is no like technically next or who's next. It's just about whoever wants to come on and sit down and work out a schedule. That's all it is. And yeah, okay. I think that's it. We've been here for over an hour. I want to thank everybody.
What? I was going to say, sorry, I want to do like a more live kind of videos on our Facebook and stuff. So maybe if you wanted to come on and host like maybe a show on our Facebook page, you're more than welcome to. Maybe Jedi Living hosts a talk show on our Facebook or whatever. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we talk. So we have each other's contacts. So we can work out the any details on anything, like see what we can come up with that's beneficial for everybody in the community.
Cool. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed it as well. So thank you guys for inviting me on and having this talk with you guys. It's been a while since I did a big cast like this. Maybe about 8 years since I did something, I guess, with another community. So it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here and talking out all the things and addressing some of those issues.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I hope I helped. And I hope people realize like what I'm about and stuff, because that's another thing. You see me in the news, and I feel like I'm a totally different guy to what you see in the newspapers.
I think that's always. So. I think that happens regardless. I think that's for everybody, really. So yeah, I think it's been super educational, and I think we're all going to be able to walk away with some ideas and things to ponder and consider. So yeah, that's it for everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode of, I don't know, Coffee with the Jedi. Who wants to be the next Jedi? Like, I don't know. We'll think of a name. All right, everybody. May the Force be with you.